Trump administration announcing yesterday that the FDA has granted emergency authorization for the use of convalescent plasma to treat hospitalized COVID patients. The treatment uses blood recovered from virus patients who have built antibodies against it. The agency said the known and potential benefits outweigh the known and potential risks. Here's President Trump speaking about the treatment last night.
This is a powerful therapy that transfuses very, very strong antibodies from the blood of recovered patients to help treat patients battling a current infection.
Last week, the FDA said it would not grant emergency authorization for the plasma until more data could be reviewed, and President Trump reacted angrily, said the decision could be politically motivated. Meanwhile, a new report in the FT says that the White House is considering fast-tracking an experimental coronavirus vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford within the coming weeks. That, it says here, is before the November election. I could have figured that out, and if it's in the next couple of weeks. But thank you for implying why we're doing it. Joining us now, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner. He also serves on the boards of Illumina and Pfizer and is a CNBC contributor. He writes in his latest Wall Street Journal op-ed, studies are competing for too few patients. It's time to direct resources toward the most promising therapies. Were you aware that next week or the week after would actually be before the November election, Scott? Did you? I sort of knew. Anyway, do you agree last night with what the president decided to do? Do the benefits? Do we know for sure that the possible net benefits outweigh the possible risks? Or, and as an if you were still at the FDA, would you be in favor of this?
Well, look, remember, this is an emergency use authorization in the setting of a public health emergency. So the standard isn't the typical standard of safe and effective as it is for a new drug approval. The standard is that the drug or the therapeutic may provide a benefit in the setting of a public health emergency. I think on the basis of the data set that's available, it's reasonable to conclude that this may provide a benefit to patients who are suffering from COVID. And it's a very large data set. There certainly wasn't any indication that there were serious side effects associated with the use of plasma in these settings. And we have a lot of experience using convalescent plasma in the setting of viral infections. We've seen situations where it does provide a benefit. We've seen some situations where it doesn't. But I think in the setting of this public health emergency, given the large data set that they had, it certainly met the standard for an emergency use authorization in that it may provide a benefit. I think that this could be beneficial. It might be weakly beneficial. It doesn't look like a home run. But right now we're looking for, singles and doubles. There aren't really going to be any home runs on the horizon until we can get the other therapeutic antibodies on the market and hopefully eventually vaccines and better therapeutics.
All right, that makes sense. We'll see how it's received by the intelligentsia. I'm not sure it's going to be well received, as we're going to see. Anyway, hopefully it works and can help some people. The AstraZeneca Oxford University vaccine, which one is that? Is that the adeno? Which one is that, Scott, that we're talking about here?
That's right. It's a viral vector vaccine. It's an adenoviral vector vaccine.
All right. So we've done it before with other diseases. We may know something about the safety of that vector to try to use as a vaccine. Would it make sense to you to start using that before, at the point that we're talking about, that we just intimated, where it might come a little bit earlier than big full-scale phase 3 trials are finished? Do you think it makes sense to do that?
Look, I think you need to do careful research with these vaccines. There's 2 large trials underway in the U.S., one by Pfizer. I'm on the board of Pfizer, a 30,000-patient trial, another by Moderna, another 30,000-patient trial. These trials are enrolling very quickly. I think what the Financial Times was reporting on is that there's a trial underway in the United Kingdom with that AstraZeneca vaccine involving 10,000 patients. That trial hasn't fully enrolled yet. I think it's about 3/4 enrolled. But because it's a smaller trial, it could read out sooner than the large trials underway in the U.S. And so the question would become, would the United Kingdom license the vaccine on the basis of that trial or provide some kind of authorization? And then would the U.S. feel pressure to do the same, to follow the British regulatory decision on the basis of a small data set involving only UK, British citizens and some citizens from other countries, but not an American trial? I think there's going to be some added complexity to this in that vaccine initially started off as a single dose, and then they were finding that they weren't getting immunogenicity. They weren't getting a strong immune response with just a single dose. So they went towards a double dose like the U.S. vaccines are, like the Moderna vaccine. There are 2 different doses. And so that might further confound the ability to draw very clear conclusions from that trial. I'm not sure. But that's really the question that the FT was probing, was would there be pressure to license that vaccine on the basis of that smaller data set that might read out sooner in the United Kingdom?